Can a team that is second in the championship really in crisis? Ferrari returns from the summer stop to face the GP of the Netherlands, but not everything is as red as it seems. Are we facing the turning point of your season, or your definitive collapse? Ferrari lands in the GP of the Netherlands after the summer stop carrying a suitcase full of questions. While their figures could suggest a solid campaign occupy the second place of the Construction Championship, the truth is that the distance with respect to McLaren is not only overwhelming in numbers, but also in sensations. The 299 points that separate them are a clear photograph of the true competitive state of the Italian team. They are not close to fighting for the title, and in some circuits, they are not even the second best team on the track. This disconcerting scenario forces to look beyond the standings. How is it possible that a team that has maintained some regularity in results is so far from the leader? The key is not in Ferrari, but in the inconsistency of its direct rivals. Mercedes has shown notable speed peaks, but suffers steep performance in technical circuits. Red Bull, meanwhile, has lived an internal earthquake that has impacted the competitiveness of the team. Pilot changes, technical crises, lack of reliability. In that chaotic context, Ferrari has survived. But survive is not the same as contending. The true story behind Ferrari's results is written with red technical frustration ink. The team has shown a surprising capacity to capitalize on the mistakes of others, but it has rarely taken control of a race for its own merit. His podiums, especially those achieved by Leclerc, have been more resilience than domination. On many occasions, the performance has been conditioned by external factors: climate, rival strategy failures, or track incidents. And this is worrying because the margin of improvement does not depend only on what they can do, but that others fail. The most striking thing is that Ferrari has not had a bad year in terms of reliability or operational errors. On the contrary, Box's work has been clean. Strategic decisions, although conservative, have not cost key points, and the duo of pilots, although unequal in results, has remained firm. So where is the problem? In the car. Or more specifically, in the limited one that has turned out to be the SF25 when it comes to finding stable performance. During the first 14 races, Ferrari has been the typical team that can look competitive on a Sunday and disappear on Saturday. In classification, the car does not show flashes of brilliance, alone when the conditions of the circuit and aerodynamic balance are favorable. But in a long batch, when the tire wear, sustained aerodynamic load and thermal management, the SF25 begins to show cracks comes into play. Degradation is not alarming, but its inconstancy is. The car does not respond predictably to the same adjustments in different circuits. Within the technical chaos that has been the SF25, Ferrari has found a source of stability and hope in one of its pilots, Charles Leclerc. Monegasque has not only been the most effective in points, but has assumed a role of silent leadership, based on performance and resilience. 5 podiums in 14 races do not sound spectacular, but in the context of an unpredictable car, that record takes a different dimension. Leclerc has been the pilot who has most understood how to extract the best of the SF25, even when the car has not made it easy. The most notable of its season has not been its gross speed, something that has never been questioned, but its ability to adapt. SF25 requires a type of surgical conduction, extremely precise in the management of weight, braking distribution, and car management. Leclerc has adjusted his style to respond to these demands. He has learned to release the accelerator before, stop with more sensitivity, and maintain the minimum curve speed without punishing the tires. It is not only natural talent, it is a real technical evolution that makes it one of the most complete pilots of the paddock. The pole position achieved in Hungary is a perfect example. It wasn't just speed. It was reading of the circuit, adaptation to the changing grip, and millimeter execution of a lap that, under normal conditions, seemed out of the reach of Ferrari. That type of actions raised the status of a pilot within the team. Leclerc has ceased to be simply the favorite of the Italian fans. Today is, in many ways, the true Pilar de Ferrari. His perseverance, his maturity, and his ability to keep calm in the midst of technical frustration have been key to supporting the team. At the other extreme of the box, however, the story is more complex. Lewis Hamilton arrived in Ferrari in 2025 as the signing of the year. 7 world titles, a legendary reputation, and the public desire to finish their career dressed in red generated a monumental expectation. But reality has been much harder. After 14 great awards, Hamilton has not won a single podium in the traditional race. He has only tasted the victory once in the China Sprint, an achievement that, although important, does not compensate for the rest of an irregular and frustrating campaign. The direct consequence of this disparity of performance is that Ferrari has become a team that depends almost exclusively on the talent of a single pilot to hold his campaign. Not due to lack of experience or capacity on the other side of the garage, but because the technical tools have not been equally compatible with both styles. This situation, if it is not resolved soon, could tighten the internal relationship of the team and complicate the objectives in the final stretch of the championship. While Leclerc continues to add points and keep Ferrari in the second place of the World Cup, Hamilton is caught between the patience that demands a real adaptation and the brutal pressure of the immediate results. The summer break was, in theory, the turning point, a reset, a new beginning. But if the performance in Zandvoort does not show a clear evolution, the narrative could quickly change from hope to disappointment. And when that happens in Ferrari, everything multiplies: criticism, media pressure, and above all, impatience. Ferrari needs both pilots to yield to their maximum level, not only to fight careers, but to validate the technical project that they have built from scratch. The question is whether the team can offer them fair tools to achieve it, or if Hamilton, even with all its glorious history, will never have fit into the Maranello puzzle. Facing Zandvoort and the remainder of the season, Ferrari faces a technical crossroads. Or they get tame once and for all the erratic behavior of the SF25, or run the risk of being completely out of the fight even by the runner-up. The redesign was brave, but if it is not accompanied by concrete solutions and continuous evolution, it could end up being the symbol of another failed season. One more for the recent history of Maranello. The summer break usually marks a necessary pause for equipment and pilots, but also represents an invisible border, before and after. Ferrari arrives at the GP of the Netherlands knowing that this weekend will not be one more. It is not simply the number 15 of the calendar. It is the first after an opportunity for technical and mental reset, and it is the first scenario where the world will see if Ferrari has taken that time to understand, correct, and evolve. In other words, Zandvoort is the beginning of a new trial, and he does it in a path that does not forgive. Zandvoort is a narrow, technical circuit, with aware curves, constant height changes, and a surface that punishes any weakness in the general car balance. Here, a nervous car becomes inconducible. A car that does not manage the ground height well, suffers in each curve compression. An unstable chassis cannot hide behind good power or a long line. Zandvoort demands precision, stability in medium and high curve, confidence in traction. It is, ironically, the worst type of circuit for a car like the SF25. In this context, the expectations for Ferrari are mixed. On the one hand, the team claims to have used the brake to work specifically in the limitations of the car. There is talk of new suspension configurations, small modifications in the rake and motor maps optimized to generate a more predictable behavior in circuits with load oscillations. They have also dedicated hours to simulations with different combinations of tires, anticipating the degradation that is usually protagonist in this GP. However, no simulator can predict what happens on the track when the car begins to bounce or when the background brushes more than allowed. And that is Ferrari's great fear. Leclerc arrives in Zandvoort with the clear objective of maintaining consistency. He knows that errors cannot be allowed and that his rhythm will be key to neutralizing Mercedes, who comes up with Russell, and Red Bull, who despite his internal turbulence, is still lethal in the hands of Verstappen in this circuit. Zandvoort is, after all, House of the Dutch. But if Ferrari wants to have any possibility of victory, he needs a Leclerc in a state of grace, and a car that does not betray it. Hamilton, on the other hand, faces a deeper challenge. For him, this race is not only a matter of points, but of perception. After a disappointing season, he needs to demonstrate that he can compete at the Leclerc level in a circuit that penalizes the minimal lack of trust. He has worked intensely on fine braking balance and curve entrance, but its relationship with SF25 remains, in the best case, tense. If you fail to feel comfortable in the first training, the weekend could quickly become another frustrating episode. Beyond Zandvoort, what awaits Ferrari is a calendar without margin for error. After the Netherlands come circuits that do not forgive improvisations. Monza, where aerodynamic efficiency and peak speed dominate. Baku, an urban and infinite rapid curves that demand extreme braking stability. Singapore, the definitive tensile and cooling test in extreme conditions. The United States and Mexico, where altitude completely modifies motor behavior and aerodynamic load. And finally Brazil, a circuit where historically Ferrari has suffered in balance sheet. What is at stake is not just a victory, not even a position in the championship. It is the perception of the Ferrari 2025 project. Internal trust in its design decisions. Credibility with your fans. And, perhaps even more importantly, the conviction that they are on the right path to build something truly competitive in the medium term. Because if that conviction is lost, what follows is not development. It is confusion, fragmentation, and finally resignation. Therefore, more than a simple final championship stretch, what is coming for Ferrari is a struggle to recover control of its destiny. Redemption or resignation. There is no midpoint.